Welcome back to Laugh Tracks, the podcast where we stumble, trip, and sometimes barrel roll our way through life's little mysteries. And of course, if you're here for the deep questions about time, space, and pizza, you're in the right place. Happy New Year's, everyone. We made it. We survived 2024, and we're ready to dive headfirst into 2025 like it's a pool of spaghetti sauce, slippery and slightly confusing.
Yeah, that's right, Jeremy. Anyways, it's a brand new year, which means it's time to make all the promises we'll forget about by February. Like this year, I'm going to the gym every day, or I'm finally going to learn how to fold a fitted sheet. You know, the stuff that really changes our lives.
Or, my personal favorite, I'm going to eat healthier. But then 3 days later, someone hands you a donut, and suddenly, it's the best thing you ever tasted. And you're questioning everything about your resolution.
You know what's funny though? Every year we all get so hyped up for January 1st like it's the official reset button of our lives. But really, it's just a Tuesday in disguise. So here we are, pretending we're going to start fresh, but it's all the same chaos, just with a new number on the calendar.
Yeah, it's like when you're cleaning your car and you think, wow, I'm really going to keep this clean. And then 2 days later, it looks like a drive-thru exploded inside. Same energy.
Oh yeah. And we're not even talking about, like, the real mystery of New Year's Eve. How does time speed up when you're waiting for midnight? Seriously, you can spend all day binge watching Netflix and the minutes crawl by. But once you start getting ready for your New Year's party, it's like you've accidentally hit fast forward. Next thing you know, you're looking at the clock and it's 11:59. And you still don't know how to pop champagne without giving yourself a concussion.
Oh, and don't even get me started on the countdown. You've been waiting all night. Everyone's screaming in the background, and then boom! 1 second to midnight. And it's like the balloon drop, confetti, that awkward kiss, and then suddenly it's a brand new year. Or is it? Like, why does it feel like we're all just pretending and we're still kind of stuck in 2024, but with a party hat on?
And can we talk about how New Year's Eve traditions are for a second? Like, why do we all think eating 12 grapes at midnight is a good idea? It's not grape race. It's not a grape race, okay, folks? Like, it's a choking hazard. And yet, it's somehow considered traditional to spend the last seconds of your year panicking that you'll eat the last grape of, the night at 12:01 and ruin the whole year.
Yeah. Nothing says Happy New Year like the silent agreement you have with the grapes. I'll eat you now, but later, we both know I'll regret it. But it wouldn't be the same without it, right? New Year's is a time of tradition. Some ridiculous, some charming, and some that just make you question why you're wearing glittery pants at 2 a.m.
Yeah. And that's what we're diving into today, folks. We're wrapping up 2024 with a long, laughter-filled episode to keep the good vibes rolling into 2025. From the New Year's resolutions that are already doomed to the mind-boggling mysteries of time itself, we've got it all. And let's not forget, every time we hit a topic that leaves you scratching your head, we'll be throwing in some fun listener stories. So buckle up, Buttercup, because this is going to be one wild ride into the new year.
So grab your leftover party snacks, a glass of something bubbly, or whatever is left of the champagne, and forget about an hour. And let's kick off the year with the best episode of Laugh Tracks yet. And don't worry, we promise there won't be any grapes involved. Unless they're in the form of a joke.
Or wine. Ready? Let's go.
All right. Let's dive right into it. We've already touched on some classic New Year's madness. But what about New Year's resolutions? The time of the year when everyone gets super ambitious and decides they're going to transform into this idealized version of themselves. Who gets up at 5 a.m., does yoga, drinks kale smoothies, and has their entire life figured out by noon?
Oh yeah, the resolutions. It's always like, this year, I'm going to be that person who wakes up at dawn, runs 5 miles, and reads 3 books before breakfast. And by February 1st, you've somehow managed to set your alarm to snooze 87 times in a row. And your biggest accomplishment is successfully finishing a Netflix series you swore you wouldn't start in the first place.
Or the classic, this is the year I get organized. I'll declutter my entire house, and then by March, you're in the closet surrounded by piles of clothes you forgot you even owned, still clinging to that one pair of jeans you'll never fit into next year.
You know, I swear I read somewhere that people should start setting smaller goals so they're more achievable. But when I set a goal like don't eat chocolate cookies before noon, I just end up at 11:45 in a full cookie eating frenzy just trying to finish the box before the clock strikes 12, you know?
Right? Resolutions are all about the long game. But it feels like by the time you realize you've already failed your goals, you're too busy working on the next resolution to even notice. Like, I'm going to be more patient with people. But then you're in traffic, and suddenly you're yelling at a traffic light like it's personally out to get you.
Mm-hmm. And that brings me to the ultimate mystery of New Year's resolutions. Why do we always make them so grand and life-changing? We're all walking around acting like we've unlocked the secret to the universe. But honestly, half the time we just need a nap and a really good snack like pickle chips.
Oh, 100%. Which leads me to my favorite resolution every year. I'm going to stop procrastinating. Yeah, sure. That lasted for about 24 hours. The second I think about doing anything productive, I'm immediately distracted by every shiny thing in the room. Like, oh, hey, look. There's that sock I've been looking for.
You know, it's almost like the universe knows the moment we set a goal and decides, all right, let's test them. Like, right after you declare, this is the year I take control of my life, you find yourself with a cookie in one hand and a blanket over your head and an existential crisis about whether or not you'll ever actually learn how to fold a damn fitted sheet.
Them fitted sheets. Oh, for sure. And the funniest part, we all just keep doing it. Every year, we make the same wild promises to ourselves like, I'm finally going to stop binge watching the same show over and over. But then come January 3rd, you're sitting on the couch watching the same Netflix series you've already seen 12 times. It's comfort food for the soul. Am I right?
Absolutely. But here's the kicker, Jer. Do you remember that one year you actually did stick to your resolution? Like you set the bar low enough that you couldn't possibly fail. Maybe it was this year, I'll drink more water. And by the end of January, you're the hydration queen, just chugging water like it's your full-time job or something.
Yeah, and everyone's like, look at you, you're thriving. Meanwhile, you're in the bathroom every 10 minutes thinking, I'm a very hydrated human being. But hey, you did it. You hit the goal. And now you're basically a guru of self-involvement for a solid 2 weeks.
Exactly. And that's the same sweet spot. Scratch that. Exactly. And that's the sweet spot. It's about setting yourself up for small victories because the second you try to take on everything at once, you're doomed. So here's a tip for all you listeners out there. Set a goal that's too easy to fail. Like, I will eat 1 vegetable this month. And then when you succeed, give yourself a gold star or a cookie.
That's a genius move right there.
I know.
You set the bar so low, it's practically on the ground. And then when you do achieve it, you're basically a superhero. And trust me, there's nothing better than feeling like an absolute boss when you finally eat that 1 carrot stick after 30 days of only eating chips.
Oh, yeah. So, listeners, we want to hear from you. What's your most outrageous New Year's resolution? The one that you know you'll never keep, but you somehow convinced that by, the end of this year it'll happen. Scratch that. So, listeners, we want to hear from you. What's your most outrageous New Year's resolution? The one that you know you'll never keep, but are somehow convinced that this will be the year it happens? Drop us a line, and we'll share some of the funniest, most absurd resolutions later in the show.
And don't worry, if you've already broken yours, you're not alone. We've all been there. Let's face it, no one's perfect. But you know what? we still got a whole year ahead of us to make new promises and maybe, just maybe, drink a little more water.
And a lot more cookies. We are not here to judge.
Exactly. No judgments. Just laughs. So grab your water bottle, your cookies, or whatever snack fuel your New Year's spirit, because we're just getting started. Up next, we're diving into a few of the biggest mysteries that come into ringing the new year. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. All right. Let's talk about something that blows my mind every New Year's Eve. How does time do that thing where it's both super slow and super fast at the same time?
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. Like, you're sitting there at 11 a.m., just waiting for the day to get going, and it feels like you're living in a time vortex. The clock's barely moving, and you're already looking up at the time that the ball will drop in New York. Then, come 11:45 p.m., you blink, and then suddenly it's 11:59. And you're in full-on panic mode. Where did the day go? The whole day.
Right? It's like you're really paying attention to the time until you're finally ready to celebrate. And then it's like the clock just hits warp speed and you're 2 seconds away from a confetti explosion thinking, wait, what just happened? And don't get me started on the last minute before midnight.
Oh, yeah. It's like every second of the year has been building up to that one moment. But then, bam, it happens. And you're already thinking, wait, should we kiss now? Are we hugging? Are we supposed to be holding a drink in one hand and a noisemaker in the other? What am I supposed to be doing right now?
Exactly. Everyone's looking around trying to read the room like, okay, is it time to kiss? Or is it that just in the movies? It's the unspoken chaos of everyone trying to be in sync, and yet somehow no one is.
And then there's the part where you're waiting for the ball to drop and someone's yelling at you. 10 seconds left. But the countdown just drags on forever. It's like no matter how many people are counting down, the actual last 10 seconds feels like they're the last 10 years. You're just standing there thinking, am I going to make it through this moment without saying something awkward?
And then, boom! It's midnight. And you're like, okay, I did it. I survived the countdown without becoming a total disaster. But then, right after, there's always that weird moment where everyone is like, wait, are we still celebrating or is it over? Like, should we go back to the regular day now? Or are we supposed to keep dancing around the living room for the next 2 hours?
Honestly, after midnight, I feel like the whole world goes into this weird time freeze. You're supposed to be celebrating, but no one really knows what to do. People just stand there for a second like, did we do the thing? Was that the moment? And somehow the whole night is both over and is still on at the same time. And the universe just messes with us.
It's like when you've been waiting for something all day, like say for the food at a holiday dinner. Yeah. And you finally get to eat. And then poof, it's gone in 5 minutes. Same thing. You wait all night for midnight. And when it finally happens, it's over before you even get to enjoy it. So you're left standing there thinking, okay, now what?
You're left trying to make new memories. Like, I guess I'll take a picture of my half-eaten sandwich just so it feels like I'm doing something with my life right now. But no one talks about the quiet post-midnight slump when everyone's trying to pretend like they're not thinking about going to bed.
Yeah, that's when everyone starts cleaning up after the party. But you're really just stalling because you don't know how to go back to normal life. After all that chaos, like, wait, we were just in the future a second ago. And now, here we are, with confetti in the carpet and leftover chips in a bowl.
Exactly! It's the weirdest transition ever. 1 second you're celebrating the end of the year, and the next thing you know, you're looking at your phone like, what just happened? I'm back to scrolling mindlessly through Instagram like nothing ever changed.
But I think that's the thing about New Year's Eve. There's always that mystery of time, and the fact that we all know that the countdown is coming, yet no one's ever quite prepared for how it feels when it hits. It's like the clock's been conspiring with our brains the whole time, setting us up for that exact moment of a sudden confusion.
Exactly. Oh, I love it. Sudden confusion. That's what it should be called. We're all just living in that constant state of what just happened. Did we just launch into the future? And yet, here we are trying to figure out how to make the best of it because, hey, it's 2025 now, and we're ready to see what kind of nonsense the new year throws at us.
Right? Bring on the madness. We survived the time warp of New Year's Eve. We've dealt with the confusion. Alright, let's scratch all that. Right? Bring on the madness. We've survived the time warp of New Year's Eve. We've dealt with the confusion, and we're ready to roll with whatever weirdness comes next. Let's face it, if we can't make it through the night, we can handle anything the year throws at us.
Exactly. And speaking of strange moments, let's talk about another one. How does food just disappear at parties? One minute there's a mountain of snacks on the table, and the next, poof! It's like they never were there. What's going on with that?
Oh, that's a mystery I need to solve. Stick around, folks. We're diving into the Great Food Vanishing Act in the next segment. Don't go anywhere. Alright, before we dive into the next mystery, because let's be real, time isn't the only thing that keeps us scratching our heads. Let's hear from one of our listeners who sent in the New Year's resolution. We asked you all to share your most outrageous resolutions, and we got a fun one.
Oh, I love this part. Listener Stephanie from Charlotte sent us this gem. She says, this year, my resolution is to stop hitting the snooze button every morning. I've set a new goal where I get up right when the alarm goes off. No excuses.
Oh, Stephanie, we feel you. I mean, that's a noble goal right there, but how realistic are we talking? Like, right after the alarm goes off, she's supposed to just spring out of bed like she's ready to conquer the day? I don't know about you, but I'm usually in a serious relationship with my snooze button.
Oh, yeah. I love that she's aiming for it, though. It's like I'm going... Scratch that. I love that she's aiming for it, though. It's like I'm going to be the best version of myself, but let's be real. The first snooze button hits like it's magical. You're like, that's it. I'll get up in 10 minutes. And by the time you're actually awake, you're basically living in an alternate dimension where 10 minutes have turned into an hour.
That's the true New Year's mystery. How does hitting snooze even work? You tell yourself, I'll just get 5 more minutes, but then somehow the universe conspires to keep you in bed longer than you're intended. Intended? Yeah. Longer than you intended. It's like those extra minutes are in a time loop.
For real. Stephanie, we're rooting for you. But I'm just saying, keep us posted. And maybe, just don't beat yourself up if you slip up and hit that snooze button one more time. We've all been there.
That's right. You've got this, Stephanie. And if you need some support, we're all here for you. And so is the snooze button, apparently.
All right, folks, we've heard from Stephanie. And now we're going to dive into something that's equally puzzling. The disappearing food phenomenon at parties. You know, what I'm talking about, is the way chips, cookies, and even entire pizzas just vanish into thin air. Stick with us.
Phenomenon. All right, folks, brace yourselves because we're about to tackle one of life's greatest mysteries, the disappearing food at parties. You know what I'm talking about? There's a massive spread. You're all excited. You turn your back for just a second and boom, half the chips are gone. You didn't even see anyone take them, but somehow they vanished.
It's like a magic trick, but without the applause and cool special effects. 1 minute you've got a table full of nachos and cupcakes and dip, and the next minute, poof, it's like a family of snack-hungry gremlins just like swooped in. No one saw a thing.
I mean, what is that? You turn away to talk to someone. Then, when you look back, it's like the snacks were eaten by air. Are people sneaking food like it's a secret mission? Or is there some sort of food thief at every party that just swoops in and takes all the good stuff?
I have a theory. I think there's one person at every party who just casually starts grabbing things and then acts like it's no big deal. They just grab a plate, pile it up, and sneak off to the corner like they didn't steal half the dessert spread. And somehow no one questions them.
Right. And then there's always that one person who's like, who ate the last piece of cake? And everyone looks around trying to figure it out. If someone secretly took it, or if it somehow just evaporated on its own. And suddenly the whole party's in crisis mode trying to figure out where the cake went.
I've definitely been that person who's like, wait, where did that last slice of pizza go? Was I hallucinating? You swear you were saving it for later, but it's just gone. Just like that.
Oh, it's the ultimate betrayal. I know how to say it. When you lose your pizza slice to the snack thief, and then no one remembers who took it. It's like, who done it? Mystery. But it's way more delicious and involved. Way more finger pointing.
And don't even get me started on the mystery dip at parties. You know, that one dip that no one knows where it came from, but somehow it's like it's always empty by the end of the night. Like, who's sneaking back for seconds or thirds without anyone noticing? It's the culinary version of a ghost story.
I'm telling you, there's no way everyone's eating it that fast without some secretive ninja moves happening. Someone out there is making sure that they're the only one who gets to have the last bite, and the rest of us are left holding empty chip bags like, well, what do we do now?
It's like a conspiracy. I feel like there should be a snack surveillance team in place at every party. Like, all right, folks, we're setting up cameras in the kitchen. We're going to catch the culprit in the act and finally get the button of this. We're going to get to the bottom of this.
The button of this. Oh, I love it. The Snack Detective Agency. I think we're just stumbling onto a whole new investigative business model. We could even create a snack gone missing hotline for party hosts who need help solving these crimes.
Honestly, I'd pay for that service. Just imagine, hello, Snack Detective Agency. Yeah, so I have a bag full of chips. I had a bag full of chips, and now it's gone. No one saw a thing, but I need answers.
And then we show up with our magnifying glasses wearing trench coats like we're on the case. We're serious about solving the snack mystery.
But really, I do think this all comes down to the magic of group think. The moment someone tastes a piece of cake and... Scratch that. But really, I think this all comes down to the magic of group think. The moment someone takes a piece of cake, everyone else feels like it's okay to take their piece. It's like one person eats something and suddenly everyone feels justified in diving in too.
Exactly. It's like the bandwagon effect, but for food. Oh, they're eating it. I guess it's fair game now.
Oh, yeah. And that's how the food just disappears. We all start just casually snacking like we're on autopilot, and before we even know it, the entire spread is gone, and we're standing there wondering what happened.
But here's the thing. At the end of the day, I think we all know we're part of the mystery. We've all grabbed more than our fair share at some point. So maybe it's just the ritual of the disappearing snacks, the snack spirits of the party, unseen but very much present.
I like that. It is the invisible guest at every gathering, a little sneaky, a little mischievous, but definitely a part of the celebration. And no matter how much food vanishes, we all know we'll still be right there looking for that last piece of cake. Because that's just how it goes.
Exactly. So listeners, what do you think? Have you solved the mystery of the disappearing snacks? Or are you still searching for the culprit at your last party? Hit us up with your wildest theories.
And if you've ever been the person who accidentally celebrated or cleared the table, just know we're not judging you. We've all been there too. But for now, folks, we're going to wrap up the food mystery and shift gears to talk about another thing that gets way too mysterious as the year goes on. How we really spend our New Year's resolutions. Stick around.
Alright, y'all. We've talked about the time warp that is New Year's Eve and the mysterious case of disappearing snacks at the parties. But let's get into something that's just as mysterious. New Year's resolutions.
Ah, yes, resolutions. The annual tradition where we make grand promises to ourselves about becoming the best versions of us. And then by February, we're eating pizza on the couch and wondering where it all went wrong.
I mean, seriously, we spend weeks crafting these perfect resolutions. We're going to hit the gym 5 days a week, learn a new language, write a novel, maybe even master the art of making sourdough bread. And then poof, the motivation just disappears. Like that last piece of cake we were just talking about earlier.
Exactly. It's like we get so fired up for the first few days, maybe even a couple weeks, before we realize that it's really hard to change habits we've been holding on to for years. And then we're just left wondering, how did I end up binge watching a season of a show I've already seen twice instead of running on the treadmill?
I know I'm guilty of that. Every year I say, I'm going to read more books this year. And sure enough, I buy a bunch of new books, put them all on my shelf, and then, they look really nice on the shelf.
Oh, I'm right there with you. I even get up a Goodreads account, like a real bookworm, But now it's just a digital graveyard for to be read lists I've never actually gotten around to.
And you know what gets me every time? The idea that the first week of January is going to be the week I overhaul everything. It's like I'm living in a fantasy world where suddenly I've got all the time in the world to work on myself. And realistically, I don't.
Ah, yes. January 1st is like, that is it. This is the year I'm going to change everything. And by January 5th, you're like, okay, well, I'll try again next year, It's like the universe conspires to make the first week or so easy. And you'll get all these delusions of grandeur.
And the funny part? Everyone around you is doing the same thing. You go into work and your coworkers are like, I'm going to eat cleaner this year. While you're shoving cake into your mouth, and then your friend texts you about how they're going to get in shape. While you're both sitting in the car eating fast food on your way to another Netflix binge.
Yes. It's like we're all in it together, but also somehow just not. They make these big declarations and it feels like everyone's pretending like they've got it together, when in reality, we're all just living the same cycle of I'll try again tomorrow.
Exactly. And I think the problem is that we're not really setting realistic resolutions. Like, sure, I'd love to run a marathon, but I'm never even running another 5K. Let's be honest here. Maybe my resolution should be, let's walk around the block more than once this year.
Right? Maybe we all need to scale things back a bit. Instead of I'll read a whole book every week, how about I'll read one chapter a day and just celebrate that small win? Because, hey, small victories build up, right?
Hey, you know what, Corie? That's true.
I know.
And I think there's a lot of people that get caught up.
Caught up.
Corie, that's true. And I think that's where a lot of people get caught up. They go all in. They set these huge goals, and when they fall short, they get discouraged. But if we just aim for the little things, those are the resolutions that stick, and they're way easier to stay on top of.
Exactly. You can't climb Everest in one day, but if you take the stairs a little at a time, you'll get there. And who knows? Maybe by the end of the year, you'll be reading those books, running those 5Ks, making the best sourdough in the neighborhood.
And you know what? That's a much better place to start than saying, I'm going to run a marathon while reading the entire collected works of Shakespeare. Whoa. And oh yeah, I'll be making bread from scratch while doing all of this in the first 2 weeks of January.
Yeah, that's a tall order. I think I'll just start with the bread. And maybe some yoga stretches with goats. Baby steps.
Yeah, but hey, whatever works for you, right? The point is, resolutions don't have to be these huge, unachievable goals. They can just be small things that make you feel like you're doing something positive. So listeners, what's your resolutions? Are you aiming for the stars, or just going to take the stairs?
And if you've already thrown in the towel on your resolution, don't worry. You're not alone. I promise you, there's a whole club of us who are just trying to get by and not feel so bad about it.
So keep it real. Set some manageable goals, and we'll all get through this together. And hey, even if it's just one chapter of that book or a single walk around the block, You're already ahead of the game. So let's wrap up this resolution talk and get to our final segment. The one where we talk about the most dangerous and outrageous resolutions we've ever heard. Trust me, it's going to be wild. Alright, before we get to the end of this episode, we've got 2 more amazing resolutions from our listeners that we just had to share with you all.
Yes. First up, I've got Ashlynn from Raleigh, who says, this year I'm going to stop procrastinating. I've already started by making this resolution, so I'm off to a good start. I mean, I love the honesty here, Ashlynn. You know, you're already ahead of the game by just admitting that procrastination is a thing.
Ashlynn, you are speaking our language. Procrastination is basically a lifestyle for some of us. But hey, at least you're taking the right... Ashlynn, you are speaking our language. Procrastination is basically a lifestyle for some of us. But hey, at least you're tackling. Fuck!
Tackling! It's trackling.
I see an R in there. Ashlynn, you are speaking our language. Procrastination is basically a lifestyle for some of us. But hey, at least you're tackling it head on. Just make sure to set small, achievable goals. Because I know for me, I'm procrastinating on fixing the procrastination. Unless I set some realistic deadlines. But we're rooting for you.
Absolutely! Procrastination is a tough beast to tackle, but I love how Ashlynn has already given herself credit for taking the first step. That's key, right? Even just recognizing the issue is progress.
Exactly. And now let's talk about Caitlin from Asheville. Caitlin's resolution is, get this year I'm going to stop making excuses and actually take that trip I've been putting off for years.
Yes, Caitlin, I'm all for this resolution. How many of us have had that one dream trip we keep saying we're going to take, but somehow it never happens? Caitlin's putting it out there, and I'm here for it. We all need to stop letting someday be the day we actually do things.
I love the energy here. It's like Caitlin is saying, this year, I'm done waiting for the perfect time. I'm going for it. I think that's something we could all use in our resolutions. Stop putting things off and just take the leap.
Exactly. Sometimes the perfect times never comes. Scratch that. Exactly. Sometimes the perfect times never... Scratch that again. Exactly. Sometimes the perfect time never comes. And you just have to take a chance. So, Caitlin, we're so rooting for you. And hey, when you're on that trip, don't forget to send us some pictures so we can live vicariously through you.
Absolutely. Ashlynn, Caitlin, whatever happens this year, we're cheering you on. Your resolutions are inspiring, and we can't wait to hear how they unfold. And to all of our listeners, keep those resolutions coming. We love hearing about them.
Yes, we do. Now, let's wrap up this episode before we start making our own resolutions about how we're going to get through 2024. We've only got just an hour or so.
So here's to new beginnings, big goals, and a whole lot of laughs in between. We'll catch you in the next episode. But until then, don't forget to make your resolutions. Keep it real, or maybe, just maybe, eat the last slice of cake once in a while. You've earned it. Alright, y'all, we were just kidding. That wasn't the very end. We've been having a blast today talking about New Year's resolutions, disappearing snacks, and everything in between. But before we officially wrap up, we've got a huge thank you to all of our listeners. Whether you're setting big goals like Caitlin with her No More Excuses trip, or tackling procrastination like Ashlynn, we're here for it.
Seriously, you guys inspire us so much. And we're not just saying that because it's the end of the year and we're feeling sentimental. We genuinely love hearing your resolutions, your thoughts on life's little mysteries, and all the fun things you share with us.
Yeah, absolutely. The support you guys give us, the way you engage with the podcast, it really makes us feel like we're not just talking into the void here. And that's what makes this all worth it. You're part of the Laugh Track family. And we're so thankful for each and every one of you.
And that's what it's all about, right? This podcast is about having fun, being real, and let's face it, messing up resolutions together. Because if we can't laugh at ourselves, then what's the point?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly. So no matter where you're tuning in from, whether it's the start of a new year or just a random Tuesday, which would be Wednesday, we hope today's episode gave you a little laugh and maybe a push to keep going after that resolution, even when they got a little tricky.
Don't forget to follow us on social media, share your resolutions, and hey, if you want to give us, if you want us to give you a shout out next time, you know where to find us. We'll be keeping track of how everyone's doing and sending you positive vibes all year long.
Oh, and be sure to catch our next episode. We've got more surprises, more laughs, and of course, more life's little mysteries to unravel. So stay tuned, stay awesome, and let's make 2024 the year of taking ourselves too serious. Because if we can do that, everything else is gravy, baby.
That's right. Happy New Year, everyone. We're so excited to be on this journey with you. Here's to a year full of laughter, growth, and maybe just a little bit of cake stealing. You know you've done it.
Well, we'll catch you in the next episode. Until then, keep laughing, keep dreaming, and most importantly, keep being you. All right, it's everyone's favorite part of the podcast. This time we're going to tell you some jokes instead of some interesting facts. All right, question. What does a new dad who hates 9 to 5 jobs do?
I don't know what.
He goes out and gets a 9 to 5 job as what?
Oh, well, that'll do it. Okay. What's a good name for a mountain climber?
I don't know.
Cliff.
No, Cliff. Did you hear about the 2 guys who stole a calendar?
No.
They each got 6 months.
Dang. Why did the urologist lose his license?
Mm-hmm.
He got in trouble with his peers. You get it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Do you?
Yes, I get it. Urologist peers.
Imagine how much worse meetings were back before you could pretend to take notes on your phone while you were really just messing around on Twitter. Did you hear about the cowboy with dietary restrictions?
No.
He was rootin' tootin' free of gluten.
I'm going to use that. Why did the detective stay in bed all day? He was working undercover.
Alright, a police officer caught 2 kids playing with a car battery and a firework. He charged one and let the other one go.
Damn.
You get it? Because the
No.
battery...
Oh.
He charged the battery and the firework... Okay.
No. Okay. What does your wife do for a living?
I don't know.
Well, it's difficult to say. What do you mean? Shelley sells seashells by the seashore. It's quite difficult to say.
Alright, this is a long one. 2 guys are working on an assembly line. The first guy says, I bet I can make the boss give me the day off. The other man says, I want the day off too, but how much? Just watch. The first guy climbs on top of the machine and gets all the way up to the rafters. There he swings his legs around and hangs upside down. Then he calls down to the boss. Look at me, the boss exclaims. What are you doing up there? The guy responds, I'm a light bulb. Shaking his head, the boss says, have been working too hard, I think you're going crazy. Take the day off. As the employee climbs down his cohort on the assembly line, heads for the exit too. Why are you leaving? The boss asks the second guy. Well, the man replies, how am I supposed to work without lights?
That's clever. How is apathy different from indifference? Who cares?
Here's some dad favorite Tom Swifties. I used to own that gold mine, Tom exclaimed. Measure twice before you cut, Tom remarked. Blow on the fire so it doesn't go out, Tom bellowed. Thanks for shredding the cheese, said Tom gratefully.
Ew. Why does the Norwegian Navy place barcodes on all of its ships?
I don't know.
So it can scan the Navy in.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Knock, knock.
Who's there? A dare.
No, knock, knock. I'm supposed to do that. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
A dare.
A dare who?
A dare once, but how? Now I'm bald. What the fuck? A dare once. A dare once, but now I'm bald.
A dare once. I had hair once.
A dare.
I had dare once.
A dare once.
I dare once. Yeah, I guess well, no, it doesn't work.
You know, my child asked me the other day, she said, what does the word
contemplate?
Yep, mean. So I said, think about it. And she said, can't you just tell me?
Contemplate. My boss told me I've been late 3 times this week. So I guess that means today is Wednesday.
Alright. Monday, Greg. Tuesday, Ian. Wednesday, Greg. Thursday, Ian. Friday, Greg. It's the
Gregorian calendar.
No, I don't get it. I don't even know.
Okay. The Georgian calendar?
Yeah.
Okay. The Mission Impossible. Movies are a lot like my life. I'm just as stealthy as Tom Cruise's character when I try to leave my office at 5 p.m. without anyone seeing me and asking me a question. That was dumb.
Alright. How much for a haircut?
$20.
How about a shave?
$10.
Great, shave my head. You get it? Because it's cheaper than a haircut.
Just go bald?
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Wayne.
Wayne who?
The Wayne is really coming down out there.
Barry Kripke.
Barry Kripke.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere, I say as I leave work at 9 a.m.
Oh, wow. That's not good.
It's brave.
Yeah. Why did the tech company hire a frog?
I don't know.
He was an excellent debugger.
I think I'm a moth.
You should see a psychiatrist, not a dentist.
I'm already seeing a psychiatrist.
Then why are you here?
Your light was on.
Okay. What candy do happy cowboys eat? Oh, this is adorable.
I don't know.
Jolly Ranchers.
I don't get it.
Jolly Ranchers, cowboy. They're Jolly Ranchers.
I get it.
Oh, I was ready to.
A horse walks into a bar. Hey! Yells the bartender. Yes, please, replied the horse.
Hey! Because hay is for horses. A sandwich walks into a bar. Sorry, the bartender says. We don't serve food here.
Oh, I get you canceled.
I don't understand.
Because he's a sandwich and he walked into the bar.
But
and he said, we don't serve food
so
here.
it literally could have been anything. Could have been a strawberry. A taco.
You're overthinking it's a sandwich.
Okay.
They walked into a bar.
An apple.
What do you get if you rearrange the letters of postman?
A really ticked off postman.
Have you heard this joke before?
Sorry.
You know what the best part about conference calls is? That you can multitask during them. As long as you remember to mute your phone. Especially when you flush.
Oh, yeah. That would be gross.
Did you know back in the Wild West, 3 cowboys were about to be hanged for stealing cattle? The lynch mob brought them to the bank of a nearby river and planned to string them up from a ranch over the water. That way, when the men died, they'd just drop into the river and float away. The mob put the nooses around the first cowboy's neck, but he was so sweaty that he slipped right out, fell in the water, and swam away. When the mob strung up the second cowboy, he also slipped out of the noose and got away. And as they pulled the third man towards the noose, he hesitated and asked, "Hey, would you tighten that noose? I can't swim."
Oh. A 3-legged dog walks into... A man heard about the discovery of gold in California. He immediately packed up his possessions and moved out west. 6 months later, he gave up and returned home. Why? It didn't pan out. You get it?
I get it. A rough and tough cowboy had just finished his drink in a tavern. He stood up and walked outside, but for a few seconds later, he barreled back through the door. With a mean look on his face and anger in his eyes, he said, "I'm going to sit back down and have me another drink. And if my horse ain't back where I left it, by the time I'm done, I'm going to have to do what I did back in Texas. And I really don't want to have to do what I done back in Texas." He sat down, finished his second drink, and walked back outside. Sure enough, his horse was tied back to its post, just where he left it. But right before he departed, one of the scared patrons stopped him and timely asked, "Mister, what was it that you had to do back in Texas?" The cowboy looks him straight in the eye and says, "I had to walk home."
Well, damn.
That was a long story.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Here's another rancher story. A rancher was taking inventory of his livestock. He figured that it wouldn't take him too long because he knew for a fact that he had exactly 196 head of cattle. But then he discovered that he actually had 200 head. How'd he do that? He rounded them up.